Hello everyone. As you can see, we have reached the 100 divine mark. I was debating making the currency goal slightly higher, but I think I'm going to cut the series short for a couple of reasons. First one being is I've been sitting in my hideout pretty much since the start of the league. I mean, I mapped the entire first day and I mapped a little here and there after, but I've just been making currency, whether it was crafting bows, future factions, all the videos I released have been sitting in my hideout. I just want to play the game. I want to try out new builds, try out Trials of Sekima, do some bossing content and whatnot. If you guys have any ideas as to what you would want me to do, feel free to comment that down below, involving mapping, of course. Another thing is profit crafting is just not great content for the stream and just in general, as a lot of the times I'm just sitting in my hideout waiting for stuff to sell for hours on end, and then once I'm running out of currency, since I can't map, I can't really do anything. It's also harder to find profit crafts with decent margins. Either the crafting materials are too expensive, or I find something on stream, and, if 14 people hop on it at the same time I do, obviously margins might go down a little. Whatever it is, I just want to move on. But let's get into how I got to this 100 divine mark. Quick little disclaimer I want to add is in the current state of the game, I do not believe that profit crafting is worth it. I'm going to get more into detail as to why I believe this. But if you are in the lower budget ranges, I'd say anything less than 200 divines, I think profit crafting should only be done with mapping. What I mean by this is let's say you wake up, you get on the game, and you see you have 200 divines just sitting there. You can feel free to craft all these divines out, or even if it's 50 divines, craft them all out, list the items, but then you should just go into maps and farm more currency. I don't think it's worth sitting there, as the turnover rate for items is slower. The margin on lower end items is lower than ever, and it's just not a great time to be profit crafting, in my opinion. I'll get into more and more detail as to why later in the video, but I just wanted to mention that. The first strategy I'd like to go over is belt crafting. This is a smaller margin, slower turnover rate, meaning the items take a little bit longer to sell, but it's very low risk and it's just something really easy. You could put 5-10 belts on market and then go do something else, and it's really cheap to get into. Basically, what I do is I search up for belts with a minimum of 100 maximum life, 2 charm slots, as you get 1 by default, so you only need 2 to unlock all 3. 1 empty suffix modifier, and then I do a weighted sum. What a weighted sum search is it gives each point of a mod a value. For example, all the elemental resistances is a value of 1 since I didn't enter the weight, meaning every point of cold resistance is 1 point, or like 1 value point. So 5 cold resistance is 5 weight, basically. I might not have explained it too well, but you'll see what I mean right now. So what I do is I search this up, and as you can see, 73. It adds up the amount of resistances and says 73. You can see the belt's 15 exalts. Don't buy stuff for annuls, as annuls are like 50 exalts. Here's another one for 25. Here's another one for 30. So as you can see, you can find plenty. You buy a belt like this, which even has armor, which adds a little bit of value. It's got an 83 sum. It's actually a pretty good belt. All you do is you buy a belt like this.
Guess it's worth that.
Then you go and you put on a collarbone with an Ulamon modifier. So let's buy ourselves a collarbone. We are full on suffixes, so we do not need to use a suffix omen. But if you did have an open prefix, you want to guarantee the collarbone ends up on the suffix. So you just buy an omen of Dextral Necromancy. Here we won't need to do that. All we will need is an Ulamon omen. This will guarantee us an Ulamon mod. There are only 2 Ulamon mods on belts. There is Lightning and Chaos Resistance, and there is, I think, like less poison potency or slowing potency, something like that. So once you apply this, you go to the well, and you have a very high chance of getting Lightning and Chaos. I have not seen it only once in, I think, 13 belts. So you basically almost always get this. Now we put on the Lightning and Chaos. It rolls anywhere from 13 to 17, obviously 17 being better, and it adds more value. If you had an open prefix, you would slam on the last prefix, or you would exalt slam the last prefix. And now we price check this belt. We see 90 all elemental resistances, 13 chaos, life, and 2 charm slots is now worth a divine. We add the armor, maybe still a divine, maybe slightly more. We bought this belt for what was it? 25 exalted orbs, spent another 16, 17 on the collarbone, another 1 exalt. So we're all in, let's say maximum 45, 50 exalts. And the belt is selling for divine, which is 180 exalts. So that took us about, I don't know, 2 minutes, 1 minute if I wasn't speaking. We list this up for a divine. It'll probably sell in a day or so, maybe faster depending on how lucky you get. You could list it for cheaper. I've sold plenty of belts like this. And this is just like a really easy side currency strategy you could do. Buy 5 belts, collarbone them all, unveil them, and yeah. The next strategy I want to show is another really low investment. It's actually probably about equal to belts. Yeah, give or take about equal to belts. And it's Putrefaction and Quivers. Now, the reason Putrefaction and Quivers is good is because they have such a low mod pool that basically hitting anything is good. And then also, you don't have to quality them. You don't have to socket them. So that's saving currency. The bases only need to be item level 75 for tier 1 prefixes. And Putrefaction omens are dirt cheap now. So the investment cost on 1 Putrefaction quiver is the quiver itself, which is 1 exalt, 1 regal orb, if you even want to count that. And then you just need a Putrefaction omen, which is now even less than 4 exalts. I'll pay the 4. And then 1 jawbone, which is like, you get 2 for 1 exalt. So like half an exalt. So let's say all in all, this costs you 6 exalts, which it doesn't, but let's say it does. You right-click your Putrefaction omen, apply the jawbone, and now you have yourself a Putrefaction quiver with 6 unavailable mods. This cost us 6 exalts. So like a stash tab full costs you less than a divine. Meaning in 24 quivers, all you have to do is get 1 decent one that sells for a divine to even break even, which is obviously very possible. Now, oftentimes you do not get good quivers. I mean, this is just kind of how it goes. I'm only going to show 1 quiver here, so even if this one ends up being terrible, I just want to show the idea, and, you know, you could do this yourself. But you'll get an option of 3 mods. I often do not use Abyssal Echo Omens on this. That's the one that gives you a reroll option, unless I get 4 really good affixes first. So this one, already I wouldn't use it. You just got to know what mods you're looking for. Good flat, damage with bow skills, projectile speed, attack speed, level of projectile skills, crit damage, crit hit chance. Here you go. The quiver isn't great, but let's see if we broke even. Proj speed, damage with bow skills, attack speed, crit hit chance. 1 exalted orb maybe 5. But you get the idea. This is a very not good quiver, obviously. We didn't get anything special, no +2 proj. I've had some quivers sell for as much as 4 divines, and then I've had a bunch sell between the 50 to 100 exalted mark. If you do a bunch of these, it's really low risk. You basically cannot lose money because of how cheap it is, and you'll eventually make a couple divines profit here and there. It doesn't take long to set up. The longest part is the bases. So this is another strategy I was just doing for a couple divines here and there. The next strategy I want to show is helmet crafting. This is how I made helmets like this one. And if I have any helmet sales here, 220x, 40x. Let me find a decent one. 1 divine. I had some better ones. Yeah, like 11 divines. You get the idea. One thing I would like to preface is that I don't know if this strategy is actually even profitable anymore without the corruptions. I got very lucky on my corruptions. This is another reason why I wanted to say I don't believe profit crafting is worth it at the current point. It kind of just feels like if you do not get lucky, most strategies will net you such little margins that it's not even worth the time you spend doing them. I'm still going to show it because I want to let people know what I did. So let's get into it. First, you search up for a Ancestral Tiara with increased energy shield and increased energy shield recharge rate. Now, there's another thing. You can search up for the second best base. There's a Kamasan Tiara, which you will pay 15 less X for, and it only has 7 less base energy shield. So if that's what you want to do, you want to cheap out a little, you can. I just want to mention that. So let's go back to Ancestral Tiara, and let's buy one. And I will run you through these steps. The reason we buy a increased energy shield and recharge rate helmet is because recharge rate is the only defense tagged suffix there is on helmets. So now when we take this and we get a perfect regal orb or 15 exalted orbs, and we get a homogenizing coronation, which is the same thing as... Oh, wow, these shot up in price. They were 8 exhausts a couple of days ago. This is the same thing as a homogenizing exaltation omen, if you know what that is, where it guarantees you get the same type of mod. Since we only have defense tags, we will only get a defense mod, and since we have the only defense tag suffix, we are guaranteed to get a prefix. The math here is that since we're using a perfect regal orb, we have a 1 in 3 chance to get a flat energy shield, and it is a 1 in 6 chance to hit tier 1. And yeah, basically that's about it. So you go here, you slam, and we happen to hit tier 1. This is perfect for the YouTube video, but like I mentioned, this is a 1 in 6 chance. Oftentimes you're going to get hybrid, and then you can either try and fully craft out your helmet or do whatever you want. That's why I kind of said this strategy is pretty iffy. But next we get a rib. We go buy a rib. This costs us 1 exalt. Let me just see if I have one already so I can avoid waiting. Okay, 1 exalt. And then we buy a suffix omen because we want to unveil a suffix. The reason we want to do this is because the next step we're going to use a homogenizing omen, and we are guaranteed a hybrid on the prefix. So we already know what we're going to get last on the prefix. We just want to unveil a suffix. Now, I normally use an Abyssal Echoes for this, as if you get really good suffixes, it does increase the price of what you can sell the helmet for. Let's go. Here, we are looking for either a resistance, plus 2 minions is also something worth taking, and maybe crit hit chance, but normally you just get resistance and you end up taking it. 25 rarity is not bad. That is tier 1 rarity. But the problem is, if you do not get a resistance, you will not know what your last suffix will homogenize slam. So it's kind of a 50-50. I'm debating whether tier 1 rarity is worth taking. We'll take it and we'll YOLO it for the video. Let's take a tier 1 rarity, although oftentimes I would advise going for the resistance. Next, we go and we get a homogenizing omen. Homogenizing exaltation. And actually, I'm not exactly sure how this would work since I don't have any defense tags on like my suffixes left that I can get. And rarity doesn't have a tag that works in the game. On POEDB, it says it has a drop tag, but that doesn't actually work in the game. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to avoid any confusion, and I'm going to suffix slam my Dextral Necromancy. If I'm wrong and I could still just homogenize normally, you can tell me in the comments, but I'm just going to suffix slam. Hopefully we get a res. We got 12 chaos res. It's not great, but it's something. And then we do another greater exalted orb. Like I mentioned before, we know exactly where we're going to get. We're going to get either mana hybrid or life hybrid on the prefix. There we go. We got the mana one. It's triple tier 1. All we have to do is quality it, socket it.
Can I help?
Let me buy an iron rune.
I'll post it right away.
And now, if we price check this helmet, 500 flat energy shield with rarity. It's worth around 3 divines. If we do recharge rate and rarity, still 3 to 4. We do rarity, chaos, res, maybe 5. Let's just say 4. That translates to 700 exalts. We spent 20 on the base, another 30 on the regal and the omen, so that's 50. Then we spent 70 on the echoes, so that puts us at what, 120? Or no, that puts us at like 150. Then the homogenizing omen, the greater exalts. Let's say we spent around 250 exalts for this. 4 divines puts you in the range of 720. So it's around 2.5, 3 divines profit for this helmet. But like I mentioned, you will only get flat maximum energy shield tier 1, 1 in 6 times. So whether this strategy is something you want to do, it's up to you. Like I mentioned, I only really made a lot of money on the strategy because I got lucky with corrupts. I just wanted to put this into the video because I thought this was cool. I ended up divining the helmet to 552 energy shield, and then I just YOLO corruption omened it because I wanted an extra socket to try and get 600 ES. But we ended up hitting spirit, which I thought was pretty fancy. What this helmet is worth now is, well, I don't know if it's worth that much, to be honest with you, but just the fact that I divined it once brought it up to 6 to 7, and yeah, this is basically the TLDR as to how I made money with these helmets. Just get lucky with corruptions. The final craft I want to show that I used to get to the 100 divine mark is actually rings. As you see here, I have a 19 divine ring sale, a 20 divine ring sale, a 30 divine ring sale. Just real quick to explain this 27 divine jacket, I just recombinated 2 tier 1 mods and slammed and ended up getting triple tier 1. Got really lucky. Kind of basically this entire challenge, I was really lucky. That's why I mentioned profit crafting doesn't seem that great. If I wasn't lucky, it'd honestly probably be 50 divines further back than I am now. I mean, it's still some decent progress, but you could have, in the 4 days this took me, you could have made way more just mapping. And then a 14 divine sale, and then a 4 divine sale, and a couple rings here and there. I want to show how I make these. So there's 2 options for the bases. First things first is I search up lightning damage to attacks and all elemental resistances. If you do, for example, something like cold damage to attacks, I think it's 28 for tier 1. It's only 2 divines for the base. If you do fire damage to attacks, it's probably even cheaper. I think it's 32 for fire. It's around 2 divines. You get the idea. Lightning sells the best. You want to buy anything besides Fizz, because Fizz has twice the chance to hit as all the elemental ones. Meaning you are twice as likely to get flat Fizz on your Exalt Slam as you are to get the other ones. So it's just better to keep it open. Plus, Lightning's the most sought after one. You can either do this on a prismatic ring, or a gold ring actually is not a bad idea. Depending on the base cost, as you can see, it's like half the cost. You'd probably want a good implicit, so maybe a little bit less than, a little more than half the cost, but I normally do on prismatics as they sell better. So let us buy, these look about the same, so let's just buy the first one we see right here. 8 divines. This is a little bit of a more expensive craft, as you can see. The base cost is 8 divines by itself. Then what we do is we use a greater essence of rarity. So it's like opulescence or something, or opulence. This will put rarity suffix. It's always going to be suffix rarity, never prefix rarity. And then what I like to do is I like to, originally how I was crafting these is I was fizz catalysting them using the catalyst omen and then double homogenizing slam. This would make it so you'd also get a prefix or a suffix. And I wanted res, but what I noticed is if you use a fizz catalyst, oftentimes you get leech. And mana leech is not bad, but life leech is not the greatest. So I added an extra step to try and guarantee that I get a resistance on here. So what I do is I take Chayula catalysts. Realistically, if you wanted to wait, you can put in an order for 1 exalt for 5 of them, and you'd probably get filled. I'm just a little lazy, and I want to record this video, so I'm just going to put in a more expensive order, try and get filled faster. I should have some left over from crafting before. Yeah, I do. Okay, perfect.
Oh,
Then we do a homogenous. I probably need to turn in some exalts for divines. 1 second. Hopefully I'm not running out of gold. No, we're good. Beautiful. We get a homogenizing exaltation omen. We get a greater exalted orb. We get a suffix exalted orb. And then we get a catalyzing exaltation omen. Should be around 5. Perfect.
Fill that in as soon as I can.
So what this will do is it will guarantee we only get an item, or we only get a mod with a tag we already have. So far we have damage, elemental, and attack tag on our prefix. We have all elemental and a resistance tag here, and rarities nothing. With the Chayula, with the Chaos Catalyst, I'm hoping to try and improve my chances of getting Chaos Resistance, but realistically, any resistance works. So let's see what we end up getting. We end up getting Cold Resistance, lowest tier. Obviously, not the thing we were hoping for, but it's alright. Next, what we do is we go and we take a collarbone. This will always land on a prefix, because our suffixes are full.
All right, your order is registered.
Now, before we slammed on the cold res, you could try and fracture, and if you end up fracturing the lightning flat, you could end up trying to deterministically, like with more investment, craft Abyss Ring, because once you're done with your suffixes, you can continuously remove the prefix that you slam, and you can try and fish for tier 1 or tier 2 flat fizz. Obviously, it'll cost more, but you can end up selling the ring for more. So you go here, you slam on the collarbone. We don't unveil yet. Next, what we do is we buy some fizz catalysts, and this is where the magic kind of comes in. Because fizz is double the weight, like I mentioned earlier, as the other flats, while using a catalyst omen of catalyzing exaltation,
Any takers?
greater exalted orb, greater exaltation, and a homogenizing. I'll explain why I use a homogenizing real quick. Okay, perfect. So what this combination will do is it will slam on a mod. Using the catalyzing omen, it'll increases our chances at a physical modifier. And flat fizz is already pretty common to get, since it's double the weight, like I mentioned previously. And then why do we use a homogenizing exaltation? The reason is life and mana have a really high weight on rings. Meaning, if you were just to randomly slam a prefix on your ring, is there a very high chance that you would end up getting life or mana of any tier. With a homogenizing exaltation omen, we're eliminating those chances as we don't have a tag relating to them. The only tags we have on right now are resistance, all the elemental tags, like because we have all elemental resistances, light attack tags, and damage tags. Damage tags allow you to get increased damage on your prefixes, so there's no guarantee that we'll hit flat fizz here, but this is the best way to increase our chances. So let's slam on, and there we go, we hit tier 3 flat fizz. In the 6 rings I've done, I've only not hit flat fizz once, and I ended up hitting flat fire. So whether that's lucky or that's normal,
An order?
I'm not too sure. I haven't done this many rings, but I'm showing you here. And then we obviously get an echoes because this is a more expensive ring. We want to try and get the best mod. The thing I'm looking for here is either rarity or another flat, a good flat. Another rarity is actually pretty good because we have lightning and fizz mods. Like this will be a double rarity, double best flat. But none of these are good. Let's see what we get next. And we also got nothing good here. So here you have an option. You can either Omen of Light and remove and go again, or you can just settle depending on how much currency you have. I'm going to really quickly price check this ring, see what it's worth, and if it's not worth a lot in its current state, I will just... Let's see. It's worth like maybe 8 divines, probably more, because all elemental resistances, if we go on the trade site, doesn't show all res. It shows individual resistances, and obviously all elemental res is worth more. So like, for example, you can see that this is the ring I'm being compared to. So the ring's already probably worth 15 to 20 divines. This kind of looks more like my ring right here. which is 10 divine, so I was wrong, but I have a better flat fizz. I'm probably going to use an Omen of Light to try and get another flat, and come back when that happens. Okay, so the next Omen of Light, I ended up getting 9 rarity, which doesn't seem great, but while I'm trying to price check the ring for Fizz and Lightning Flat, none of these rarities are at the 30%, which is what I have currently, obviously. Um, so I can't really pinpoint the price. Honestly, because I had to use an Omen of Light, most likely, um, probably just a break-even ring, maybe slight profit. I mean, this is like a better resistance than mine. Obviously, it has worse flats than mine, but it's only 4 less rarity. So whether someone's willing to pay an extra 10 divines for 5 more rarity and then better flats, I'm not too sure. I would just list this ring, I don't know, 20, 30 divines and then slowly lower it. You'll most likely break even, most likely make a little bit of profit. It is a double flat, tier 1, tier 3 with double rarity. Obviously, if you got luckier, you could have gotten a better flat. You could have gotten a better rarity. Maybe it's actually even worth to use an Ancient Collarbone, since I was willing to use an Omen of Light. If I use an Ancient Collarbone and got a better roll, obviously the ring would be worth a lot more. But I wanted to show this. I did this on about 5 rings. Those 5 rings cost me around 27 divines to craft, and in total, I ended up selling them for around 62. So in the long run, I believe this is profitable, especially on the cheaper bases like the Flat Cold and Flat Fire. You can buy them for a divine, use the same crafting process. Majority of the cost comes in the base. So if you're doing it on a cheaper base and you end up getting lucky, you could have yourself a really nice ring. Besides that, I want to wrap this video up. TLDR, I don't believe it's worth profit crafting unless you have a lot of money. I think if you are going to profit craft, it should be something you do as soon as you get on, so you can list your items for as long as possible, get them to sell, and just continue mapping or doing whatever you normally use to generate currency, as it's taking items a pretty decent while to sell at the current point in the league. I went over all the strategies that I used, from belts to quivers to helmets to rings. That's the stuff I used to go from 10 to 100 divines. Some luck obviously helped. I won't discredit the luck factor. It would take longer if I didn't get lucky. But I hope you guys enjoyed. If there's anything specific in the game you want me to do, whether it's a different challenge, something mapping related, hopefully, or I don't know, some normal YouTube content like 100 bosses and this is what I got, or whatever, I'd gladly do that, as we're still around a month and a half away from the next PoE League. So we got some time. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed the video or gained any value or whatever the reason might be, please stop by to the streams, twitch.tv/electropoe, or just subscribe to the YouTube channel, like the video, comment, whatever. Anything's appreciated. Thank you guys.